Ever since the Switch released back in 2017, there's always been a call for certain games to make the jump to the system, and Persona 5 was one of them. It seemed like a dead cert when Joker was in Smash Bros. Ultimate, but ultimately it never happened, and it just has been a constant rumour during the Switch's lifespan. But here we are, finally, after all these years, Persona 5 is finally coming to Switch in its Royale version, which comes with plenty of extra content. But has this Switch version been worth the wait? Let's find out. First up, let's start off by talking about the game's story, which is easily one of the strongest elements, focusing on your main character, a lad called Joker, who's quite a quiet chap who ends up into some bother and gets sent off to a new school. At this new school, something happens which transports Joker to an alternative reality called the Metaverse, which showcases people's true desires and views. These turn twisted people's views into places called palaces. The first one we see is one of the sports coach who works at that school, as he's been very abusive to students, so it's up to you to expose him and make him change his heart. When entering this metaverse, your appearance change and you look something quite like a superhero, and I suppose you are, as you can do some amazing moves and ultimately help save the day. As you go through the game, you gain additional characters to join your cause. The team is called the Phantom Thieves. From Joker's friend Ryu to popular schoolgirl Ann to Morgana, the cat that follows Joker about. It's a great team of characters, and as you go through the game, the team grows bigger, and there's a whole host of wonderful characters to choose from as you all join together to stop the most corrupt people in society and make them change their heart. The game story is great, and it does tackle some pretty tough subjects. A prime example of this is the opening palace with the sports coach who bullies both physically and sexually his students. It does tackle these subjects with class, though. As the game progresses, the whole narrative really does open up into something special, and it is part and hand due to the amazing cast of characters. Even though the main character Joker is quiet and doesn't really say much throughout the whole game, the whole supporting cast are likeable and feel like they could lead their own game their own. The latter ones that join your crusade are also great, but I don't want to spoil anything for people who haven't played the game yet. Onto the gameplay side of things now, and the game is primarily split into two different sections. You have the normal day-like activities, and you also have the metaverse stuff. And the main appeal of the game is how you balance your life between your normal day stuff and your superhero shenanigans in the metaverse, very much like a superhero. You're normally given a time period before you must stop a certain individual. In this time you can level up and improve your character or progress further into a palace. The choice is up to you. Your normal day stuff includes going to school, completing studies, chores and work, and you can also chat to people called confidants to gain extra abilities to help you in battle. These mundane activities sound boring, but they're actually really essential to help make life easier in combat and metaverse gameplay, gaining new abilities and better stats to defeat enemies. You can do as little or as much as you want, but it really does make the game more easier in combat and allows for more info and knowledge of the game's world and characters, especially with confidence. The other side of the game is all the metaverse stuff, and this is where the game feels more like a traditional JRPG. You go through various different dungeons that are packed with secrets, enemies, and collectibles. The palaces are specific to each story encounter, and as you go through the game, the palaces' designs get more elaborate as well. There's also Mementos, which is a massive palace that features loads of procedurally generated floors that get harder as you progress till you reach the end goal. All the dungeons are very well designed with plenty of stuff to explore and allows you to stray off the beaten track quite a few times. The combat of the game is definitely another highlight here, feeling very fast and snappy. Your team is faced with loads of enemies and each enemy has a specific elemental weakness. Once you know it, you can exploit it and stun them. If you played Switch exclusive Shin Megami Tensei 5, then you'll know what I mean. Once you stun an enemy, you can attack it again or baton pass, which just pass your turn over to another player to either heal you or try to exploit another enemy's weakness. If you manage to stun all enemies, you get to hold them up to either get some items or let them join you, or even go in for an all-out attack and destroy them. It's such a brilliant and strategic approach to combat that makes each combat encounter a complete joy. As for the enemies you fight, you can actually recruit them up as your personas. Personas can grant you and your team special abilities such as fire and healing to help you out in battle. It becomes a bit like Pokemon as you try to get them all and level them up to gain new abilities. You can also combine personas to create new and more powerful ones. The whole gaining new persona stuff feels like a game in itself and is incredibly addicting to try and get them all and experiment with them till you get your ultimate team made. Content-wise, Persona 5 was always an incredibly lengthy game on the PS4 when it launched, but this version is the Royal version, which includes a whole new cornucopia amount of content to the game. The base game itself is easily upwards of 80 to 100 hours to reach the game's mainline conclusion, but included in this Royal Edition is so much more stuff. We have a whole new semester here, which adds well over 20 hours of new content here, with a new Phantom Thief called Kasumi joining the battle. It's a really nice new addition that expands on the game's storyline and most importantly lets you spend more time with these wonderful characters. The new additions don't end there, as there's new quality of life improvements that make an already impressive game even better, such as a more streamlined and more quick opening to get into the game quickly. There's also changes to the palaces that make use of new exploration. Also, there's loads of new confidence, extra cutscenes, a new place called the Thieves' Den, which allows you to unlock loads of bonus content like music. We also have new personas, weapons, accessory, events and shops. It's really ridiculous how much extra content is included here, and it feels like a new game, even for those who have played the base game before. Persona 5 is quite an old game that was based on a pretty old tech up, was available on PS3 as one of the final big games for the system, so there was still some worry how the game would run on the Switch even in its Royale version, but I'm happy to say the game runs brilliantly on Nintendo's hybrid system. The game obviously has took a slight visual hit on the system with some lesser textures and muddy visuals, but it is to be expected, but the whole aesthetic of the game remains incredibly close to the other versions. The muddy textures are more noticeable in dock play, but in handheld play, especially on the OLED, the game looks wonderful with its bright colours and vibrant menus. Think something similar in the lines of Persona 5 Strikers, which is also on the Switch, and you'll get an idea on how it runs. The frame rate is also solid at 30 FPS and it keeps to it pretty much all of the time, even in the busy city sections and packed battles, so that's great to see. Onto the soundtrack now, and Persona 5 Royal is like its original version, an amazing sounding game. The game is fully voiced with both original Japanese and English dub. Both voice tracks sound great. I kept with the English voiceovers as I had them in the previous versions and they still stand up well. As for the music, it's Personas. The series has many great tracks and this game is no different. From the blistering catchy Get Up and Get Out There to the momentous theme just to one where you're exploring the game's map. They're all wonderful. One of my favourite ones has to be the haunting theme for the Velvet Room. It's so creepy but beautiful. Conclusion time now, and it's great to see after many years of rumours, Persona 5 is finally out on the Switch, featuring the full fat Royal package with all the content here. It may have taken its sweet time, but it's been well worth the wait. Easily one of the best JRPGs in the business, with well over 100 hours of content, including a rich story with great characters, a stunning soundtrack. If you haven't played this one before, I urge you to give this a go. Without a shadow of a doubt, a truly incredible game that will steal your heart. So with that, I'm giving Persona 5 Royal on the Switch a 10 out of 10 with the title of Outstanding. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you could like and subscribe, that'd be totally awesome. And as always, thank you for watching my video. And until next time, bye.